Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
It's time. It's time. It's Vader time. And it's an all-new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. Jeff, what in the hell's going on, man?
Christmas week, my friend. We had a little bit of Starrcade. You know, we got some closing the year out strong here with some big matches. It's just, I'm ready for, I know you love when I say I'm ready for holiday. The shoot job, I'm off for a week or so. And so I'm excited to take a little bit of time.
Agreed. Same here. Dude, we have a lot to cover. We've actually already talked about this show, this Starrcade 92 show recently.
Yep.
But this was the match. I mean, this is a very, very highly rated match. Mm-hmm. Admittedly, I have not seen a lot of Vader in his prime. So I'm excited about that. You picked this match, though. What intrigues you about it?
This was one because I remember I actually picked the match previous to this one, as we did last week, the Steamboat Douglas Wyndham Flying Brian match. And when I was kind of looking at the card, like this match actually caught my eye. And it was actually, of the two matches, like most of this card sucked, as we talked about last week, but this match was actually ranked higher than the previous match. And so I was like, you know what? Screw it. We haven't done a back-to-back. We always like to try and mix it up with our events and stuff like that. But this one, you know, I wish we could talk, and it's part of why we're here, talk more about, Sting before, so many people associate him with the black and white and Nitro and things like that. But Sting had a long career before that. And then same with Vader. Like Vader was there's few wrestlers out there where I feel like if you were to like run into them on the street would be genuinely terrifying, like him, Brock, or like I say, Brock and Vader would definitely be on that list. Like, that's why I compared like him to, of like, he like Brock is kind of like the Vader of the back, that like, it's just scary. Like, and so, and all the stories seem to be true about that too with Vader. So a lot of good reasons to cover this one.
Absolutely. Well, let's jump right into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
So already talked about this one. Don't want to spend a ton of time on it, but it's Starrcade 92, the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia. 8,000 are there. Now, interestingly enough, Jeff, both these guys wrestled earlier on.
Yes.
So Steve Williams and Sting would defeat Jushin Thunder Liger and Eric Watts in a lethal lottery tag match. And then Vader and Dustin Rhodes would defeat, pardon my enunciation on this, but Kensuke Sasuke and
yep.
the Barbarian. So both of these guys already wrestled, and maybe a little bit more common back then, but it's hard to picture a WrestleMania where, guys are coming out multiple times for multiple matches. And you say, well, yeah, that's WrestleMania. But keep in mind, this was the WrestleMania for WCW. So really, really odd. And for those that listened a few weeks ago, we covered that Steamboat and Shane Douglas match where they had a tag match against Barry Windham and Flying Brian. Very highly ranked, 4.25 stars. But And the readers of The Observer actually said that was the best match on this show. Meltzer, however, said that the Sting Vader match that we're about to cover was better. So yeah, I'm really excited to cover this one. The King of Cable tournament final. So I know you're going to be able to share how we got to this. And Jeff, what in the hell King of Cable even is or means. So excited to hear this one. And I know in the build you're going to cover this, but just some cool shit happening in WCW at this time where, if you weren't following it closely, it wasn't like Nitro was on every week. I just think there's some pretty interesting things that fell, kind of under the radar, at least for me as a New York guy, a WWF guy. Some of this stuff just don't remember or never even saw. So build wise, how do we get to Sting Vader at this show?
Yeah, like you said, it's almost kind of unusual. Like there's some really good stipulations and kind of like, I feel like they really tried to lay out a card here with some things happening that could have been good, but for whatever reason, like it just didn't click necessarily, maybe because of the stipulations. And so I'll start with, like, they had those, you said, those weird tag team matches, like the Lethal Lottery. Those are really just kind of random draw matches. Like that's how you kind of wonder, like, how do Steve Williams and Sting take on Jushin Thunder Liger and Eric Watts? Like, how do you get, Vader and Dustin Rhodes against the Barbarian? Like, it just seems odd, but that was kind of really, this whole kind of card was kind of drawn randomly in a way. And so that's how you got the kind of the Lethal Lottery. Was it's just random drawing of tag teams, which I know New Japan does something like that too now. Tag team dash and things like that, which are kind of cool. And so kind of the early inceptions of this. Now, yes, the Starrcade was the pay-per-view that we're kind of watching last week, things like that, what we're talking about, but it was actually in the TBS, the channel, the TV channel, which AEW will be switching over to from TNT in the new year. Don't forget, is that they were celebrating 20 years of pro wrestling on TBS. And so they wanted, how else do you celebrate, Tom, an anniversary of wrestling? Put on a wrestling tournament. Like, it's just, why wouldn't you? So that is how you get the King of Cable tournament. It was because of TBS and celebrating their anniversary. And so it was at the time the kind of top wrestlers, and I kind of dug into this one a little bit. I don't know if the trophy's still there. I doubt it, but the winner, they would receive a trophy, which we will see at the end of this match, kind of who wins this one, to be displayed at their headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia at the time. And it was actually going to be like, part of the tour. Like, it was just really quirky, but wrestling at the time, this made sense. And so I saw mixed reports. Some of it said the wrestlers that were chosen for the King of Cable tournament were random. Some said it was from WCW magazine at the time. Just a lot of really random type stuff. But so you had Pillman, Sting, Barry Windham, Rick Rude, the Barbarian, Dustin Rhodes, Tony Atlas, Vader. And so Vader beating Dustin Rhodes, Sting beating Dustin Rude to get in, Rick Rude, Sting beating Rick Rude to get into the final, where it's just how you got Vader and Sting. And so, it just kind of, it's how it played out, just your basic TV tournament. Now it's interesting though, because you have TBS wanting to do this King of Cable, but the finals taking place on a pay-per-view, which doesn't make a ton of sense, but sure, whatever. It didn't necessarily have to make a ton of sense, because that's just what we're going with. So how did these guys, though, kind of the run up, kind of, just a little bit of backstory and kind of what these guys were up to at the time? Actually, Sting defending his world title is actually earlier that year in 1992 against Vader previously. Sting actually got hurt in that match too, but continued to work through it. Defending his title multiple times against Vader. This was at both at the Omni, where this show took place. It was Great American Bash as well too. It just wrestled hard too. A lot of injuries, Sting hitting his head on the ring post, like just a lot of things happening. He taking on Cactus Jack at Beach Blast, having a match with Jake the Snake Roberts in the Coal Miner's Glove match, which we've talked about before. And so, Sting, while he had a little bit of a feud, and I'd say early, mid, 1992, this King of Cable is not the first time Sting and Vader had crossed paths. And so, it also, you'll see as we're kind of watching this match, Harley Race was acting as Vader's manager at this time too. And so you kind of have that involvement as well too. Just one of those things to kind of be on the lookout for what's happening and stuff like that. So, but then again, like we said, they had their kind of matches over the summer, kind of what they were doing and things like that. And so it's just, interesting. So they had the Bash at the Beach match. And then really, like I said, they took that little bit of time off. There was probably from that, I'd say like August until this match took place where it was kind of quiet between them. Vader was actually out for a little bit as well too, but then him taking on Nikita Koloff. And then you get to this, and that was, probably in the lead up to Halloween Havoc and things like that with Vader. And so it was really just these guys kind of, they had their feuds, took a little bit of time off, and now we bring it back for the King of Cable tournament. So not their first match, but yeah, we'll get into it and see what happens here.
No, and as Meltzer noted, these guys just had good chemistry. They just had good matches. Yeah. So you got two bankable stars. You got the white meat baby face, the big nasty heel. It was you knew you were going to get some good stuff, and you knew people were into it. So I'm good with it. Starrcade 92, we're at the 2 hour and 2 minute mark. And because I finally figured out how to add audio in, you're going to hear audio of the match at some key moments. I'm very excited about this. Only took 123 episodes. But I don't think you could always do it on Zoom. So anyways, got to figure it out. Higher tech experience for all of our loyal listeners. Hey, by the way, Jeff, I just went to one of these Christmas parties where you do like the Secret Santa thing.
Yep.
So I told you this. I did the Manscaped deal for my buddy. It's kind of awkward because he's like, is this for my face? And I'm like, and there's like 30 people around, couples, the whole deal. I said no, and I kind of like motioned to my crotch area, and he's like, oh okay. Anyway, so I got him the 4.0, I got him the weed whacker, and then it was the package. So it came with the other stuff. But just a great gift. So obviously probably too late for Christmas, but if you're giving a gift in January or his birthdays come around, before you know it, it'll be Father's Day. But as these things come around, the gift packages are a hell of a deal.
Yep.
I mean, they really, it's like the difference between just getting the weed whacker or getting, or the 4.0, just getting like one device versus getting the whole package. It's a very nominal difference. So get the package. Payoff 20 is our discount code. You get 20% off. You get free shipping. You can't beat it. So again, payoff 20. But yeah, it was the best gift that was given. I did spend a little bit more than we were supposed to, but I said I don't care. I want to promote our stuff and everyone can see it. So I was very excited about that.
Yeah, it's absolutely good stuff. And like you said, start the new year right. Like that's the way to do it. Like if you need a new routine, don't go to the gym. Like, if you want to go to the gym, that's fine. But you know what? Have your routine be once or twice a week. You just buzz yourself with the Manscaped Trimmer 4.0 lawnmower. Like that's where you need to be. Yeah. Yeah. And I've tried. I mean, I used to travel a lot. So now that I really don't travel much anymore, I've just tried to have better routines. And that's part of it. It's the manscaping. It's getting a good shampoo, a good body soap. I actually got a foot scrub that I've been using in the shower. A good face wash. You and I, we're not spring chickens anymore. 40s around the corner for both of us. So I try to clean my face in the shower. I try to put some lotion on at night. So all that stuff. I think it's important. So, obviously Manscaped is part of the equation for me of just making sure I'm taking care of myself, because those daily habits, they mean that, your face doesn't look all crinkled and wrinkly and cracked by the time you turn 50, but you got to do this stuff now so that when you do get to that stage, you don't look like a beat up old man. Absolutely. Payoff 20, manscaped.com, free shipping, 20% off. All right. 2 hours, 2 minutes, Starrcade 92. Jeff, are you ready? I got it pulled up. Let's do this. All right. It's time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
Vader looking scary. Yep.
Dude, he's got, I don't know what the hell that was, a hood or a do-rag or something. Something, yeah.
What an athlete is that man.
So you got Ventura and JR,
former WCW World Heavyweight Champions. They went through.
Dude, I love it. Sting, yeah, just great. Just awesome. Awesome.
So I don't know if you saw recently, we'll talk about Sting here. One thing that was pointed out to me, and this, Tony Khan, not Nick Khan, made some comments about Sting in his most recent WWE run. Something that was pointed out to me that it was just one of those things I overlooked that never thought about. The Sting has never won a singles match in, like, as it said, Sting has never won a singles match during his run with Vince McMahon's promotion, which is like weird to think about, like, coming in, but then
he only wrestled. He went 0-2.
Right. And so, but he had a good quote here. He said the whole time he was back in his last run in the competition, they screwed him out of multiple matches. Let's be honest. He should have been presented better. And that's one thing I won't back down on. Sting deserves to be treated like one of the great legends in wrestling. And I set out to do that from the beginning with him. So kind of use a do you think anymore? I feel like the question of the 2021 was who's on your wrestling Mount Rushmore. I feel like nobody says Sting. This is going to sound odd to ask you, but is Sting overlooked?
I got two initial thoughts to that. Number one, Sting wrestled in WCW. WCW was typically a notch below New York, a notch below WrestleMania, a notch below all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So you look at, really Sting's prime, let's just call it like late 80s and the 90s, WCW got hot 97, 98, right? But keep in mind a couple things. In this era here, WCW was still lesser than. And would we look at Sting differently if he had a WrestleMania match against Hulk Hogan or against the Ultimate Warrior? Yeah. Or against Randy Savage. So Sting was hurt by the fact that he wrestled in WCW in this era. Less eyeballs. Wasn't on the big stage. Okay. Then WCW gets hot and smokes WWF, right? Sting was gone for over a year. And I know it was iconic. He was in the rafters, the big build to the Hogan match. But the reality is that he was gone for over a year. He did not wrestle. Okay. Then he finally does wrestle. Guess what? They botched the whole Hogan thing. He never gets a long title run. And before you know it, he's wrestling Ric Flair in a t-shirt on the final Nitro. And he's just gone. Okay. Then he's in TNA. And no matter how good his TNA stuff was, it was small time stuff. They were not AEW. They were not WCW. Even when TNA got hot, they were still lesser than. So, okay. Then he finally does go to the WWE. Should he have gone way sooner? Yes. You can blame him. You can blame Vince. You can say timing. But the reality is that he absolutely should have gone sooner. And part of that is on him. Part of it's probably on Vince and his team.
Ooh,
by the way, this is a ridiculous match. Dude, this is awesome.
Sting just suplexed Vader. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a great match, dude. Sting looks awesome.
He's running over the top rope there too. Yeah. Yikes. Dude, he lost his mask. Yikes.
Yeah, so Vader on the outside, mask off. They're both out. JR is going crazy. That was a hell of an exchange, dude.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, Sting ends up in TNA. And then, he goes back. And yes, he was underutilized. Okay. So anyways, I say all that to say, wow, Splash on the outside takes out Harley Race and Vader. Man, this is just an awesome match.
Nonstop. Yeah.
Wow. Definitely better than I was expecting so far. So anyway, so the point is that who do you put Sting above? Do you put him above Austin? Do you put him above The Rock? Do you put him above Hulk Hogan? Where does he fit? Do you put him above Taker? Hell no. You can name, 7 to 10 guys that in my mind are better. Do you put him over Shawn Michaels, the best in-ring worker of all time? No. Do you put him above Flair? Probably not. Then, I'm big on this. I think Brock Lesnar is criminally underrated. He's in my top 10 of all time. I put Brock Lesnar's career over Sting's career. So Sting's unbelievable, and he's one of the top, 15 or 20 of all time. If you love him, maybe you put him in your top 10. But there's, let's just keep that in perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
One other point is Tony Khan has a very high opinion of himself.
Yeah.
They do no wrong. They do everything better. They, point out all the things that Eric Bischoff did wrong and all the things that Vince McMahon does wrong. It's kind of funny, but it's also funny too to say, oh, Sting, I unlike WWF, I actually position him as a main eventer. Now that's interesting, or the legend he is, whatever. Jeff, it's interesting because as far as I'm concerned, Sting is in a mid-card tag team in AEW. Now they've done some cool shit with him, but let's not act like, he's wrestling 30-minute main events. You have not positioned Sting like you positioned Chris Jericho. Yeah. You have not positioned Sting like you did Kenny Omega.
The top rope suplex from Sting.
It's funny to be like, hey, WWE didn't use him as well as they should have. I don't disagree with that. But to say that you presented him like the legend he is, no, he's a aging guy that can, kind of go in the ring. You got to do smoke and mirrors, and you put him in mid-card tag matches.
Which with one of the, as they've been making a big deal in the promos, like with one of the pillars of AEW.
Yes.
At this point, Darby Allin doesn't is it fine that he's with Sting, but Darby Allin doesn't need Sting to go over. No. Darby Allin's way over already.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, but great point. Hell of a match so far, dude. Now
these guys are this has been nonstop. So Stinger mission the splash on the outside, and so hitting the guardrail as Vader rolls out of the way.
Hit the steel. Vader's mouth is bleeding.
Sting made a major mistake there. He should have kept it in the ring, Ross. He let his ego get.
And they've been going at it the whole time here. This is crazy. Yeah, Harley Race kind of throwing commands out and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it also too. We're not even some of the times we're seeing Sting. He'll come out. He'll stand at the top of the ramp and that's it. Now, is that fine? Yeah.
Does that a lot?
No, am I excited to see Sting? Yeah, sure. But we'll never see but
we're presenting him like the legend he is. Would Steve Austin walk out with somebody on Raw and pat him on the shoulder and go back around?
Right. Yeah.
Is that what they would do to The Rock? I mean, come on.
Right.
So yeah, again, absolutely. They're using him well, but to say that, and they're using him better than Vince did. I understand that.
Yeah, and there's points, and I think Tony Khan is very good hype man. He's always said he doesn't want to be on camera, and so, but if you go to a live show, he's out there a lot. Actually,
he's out there a lot on live shows when they're not on TV, and he's on a lot of podcasts talking a lot of shit about other people. So it's funny to say I don't want to be out there. You're out there in every way possible. You're out there. You do a press conference after every show, after every major show. The only thing you don't do is you're not an on-screen character. But you're an off-screen character.
Yeah, and he has said he does not want to be an on-screen character, which there was that little bit for a couple weeks. But he's involved.
But he's involved in the stories because they say Tony Khan just made this match, and then after the pay-per-view, he talks about that match. So he isn't on TNT, and he's not on TBS, and he's not on the pay-per-view, but he's very much involved in the storylines as an on-screen character and on podcasts and everywhere else in the media. So Tony Khan is still a massive face of the promotion, even though he says he doesn't want to be. I call bullshit on that. The only thing you're not doing is you're not doing scripted on-screen promos.
Well, and I think it's almost weird to me because I feel like to a degree, you could almost make Nick Khan be like the Jack Tunney. Like we're starting to hear more and more about these behind the scenes of I even read an article the other day. I don't know if you read it too, that said Nick Khan will be the one to take over if Vince retires. Or whatever happens to him when we're not going to know because he's going to live, we're going to die before he does. But, it's one of those things. But Nick Khan is the one has been putting together the day one pay-per-view. But then there's also like kind of mixed of like, well, he wants it to be like, January 1st, but this year there's no bowl games on January 1st. And so the date is actually going to be in flux. And so it's not actually going to be day one. It's like, there's just all these kind of like already out of the gate, there's already this dirt sheet stuff of just like, okay, what's going to happen? Like, are we going to get this, are we going to actually, is it going to be day one? Is it going to be something else? Like Nick Khan has slowly, there was that picture, like you and I were texting about the other night, like with The Rock, we had no idea about that connection with The Rock.
Did anyone? I had never heard of that.
And so real quick, the refresher on that is apparently The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, Nick Khan and his sister, correct? Nick's sister, like grew up together on Hawaii.
And Nick Khan, and he was close with Nick as well.
Yeah, all three of them. And so there was a photo of them having dinner, which that only leads me to believe more and more like, oh man, we're getting another Rock match. Like if I was like 50-50 before, I'm like 80-20 now. Like,
I mean, we are. Like, it's just a matter of when. I mean, you assume. I don't know. It feels like LA WrestleMania, but who the hell? Yep. Who knows? The other thing too is it's like, I mean, Reigns, the idea was if you want Rock Reigns, the idea was, okay, we got to wait till Reigns is a megastar. I mean, isn't he like at his height right now?
Ooh, Sting avoiding. Yeah. Well, you hear that nonstop of who's going to beat him. Like even with Brock, they're going to drag the Brock storyline out too long, I think, not because of Brock's fault, but because they don't have anybody else that is a contender. Speaking
of which, what are we doing with Brock and Reigns?
I think we're just, like, because right now they have a match at day one, but I don't think there's any way, like then the next one after that will be Rumble. And so I don't see any way how we're getting like a one-off to that. Does that mean Brock wins the Rumble or something? Like, I just don't know. And so I saw things that they need the brand split's actually hurting them. They actually need AJ to come over. They need even Bobby Lashley to come over and like have some top people, get AJ away from Omos or something like that. It's just because there's nobody that can contend with him and hold the title like he is. And you know what? Fine. If it's the Roman Reigns show, it's the Roman Reigns show.
And I am really curious what they're going to do, because it's like, it doesn't feel like taking the title off Reigns makes any sense. But then are you going to have 3 Brock Reigns matches that all are screw job endings and Brock gets screwed 3 matches in a row?
Yeah. Which in the day one card as of today is shaping up to be pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited about what the hell else am I going to do?
What else am I going to do? Yeah, exactly. All right. I'm going to be recovering and I'm going to be watching that, or, hopefully from a Michigan football win. And so we'll see what happens. But so Vader is absolutely just punching the shit out of Sting.
Those are stiff.
Those are stiff punches. Yeah. Those were not work shots. Yeah.
But I love that he's like blocking them. I mean, it looks really real.
It looks really real. Yeah. Sting is really showing off. There was like a backslide that he gave. And Vader is, I think, always known as working extremely stiff. And he is definitely right now, but Sting is making it believable. He's got his hands up like a boxer as Vader's he's boxing him around the ring. He's had about half dozen shots in on him now.
Just Sting can hold on here. Maybe Vader will punch himself out.
Right. See? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Ali did to Foreman and Zaire.
Hey, if it worked then, it may work now.
Rope-a-dope.
Oh, great stuff. Oh. Yeah. And so
Vader sent him back up there.
I mean, unbelievable match so far. I am just loving this.
This is I'm a fan of the strong style of Jeffy. So Vader's standing on the second rope. It looks like he's about to suplex Sting back into the ring. He's got Sting kind of on the turnbuckle, poke to the eyes there from Sting. Yeah, kind of fighting back. Oh boy, there we go. And Vader falls back. Yep, here we go. Well, Sting collapses. Great stuff. Great selling, all that stuff. Yeah, these guys really
both guys are down, count.
Both men are down.
I mean, just good stuff. Okay, so this Starrcade takes place in December, WrestleMania early April. Which time of the year do you like better for a big show? And is there a third time that would be better than either of those time slots?
Well, I saw, what was it? Nick Khan wants to make day one the 6th big show, which stop. Like, you got to stop it. Like, you had the big 4, and then there's, they're saying the Money in the Bank is the big 5. Vader's still punching Sting, and Sting's asking for it. I like me personally, like I like the summer shows. I think that like SummerSlam is one that, yes, I get Mania is when it is, but I think I would personally prefer it a little better in the summertime, right? This time of year, it's hard to get, like, I told you the other night, I texted you, I watched an entire episode of Raw and I don't know why. And so, because this time of year, even like December is just awful. And I know that's why they're trying to do the day one, is to bring people back into it. But also at the same time, like, why? It's just not going to happen. Like, if you figure people are going to be drunk and hungover still, and so they're going to turn into day one on Saturday night. Like, I mean, we're going to watch it just because we're marks and we always watch it. Sting with a roundhouse, like just taking Vader off his feet. Like, this really, they're working extremely stiff right now. So for me, it would be summer, probably that early year, like March, April is okay. But once you start getting into, that November, December time of year, like, it just, I really struggle with it.
Sting with Samoan drop on Vader.
And I've been tracking, and I was actually interested. So I'm going to be tracking in 2022 how many pay-per-views we get each month from like the big promotions. Big splash from the top rope. 1, 2, Vader kicks out. And so right now we have, I say, like 4 big shows. I don't know if Battle of the Belts is going to be a pay-per-view, or Clash of the Champions, whatever we're calling it nowadays, from AEW. But you've got day one, you've got Rumble, you've got that Battle of the Belts if it ends up being a pay-per-view, and then the New Japan Wrestle Kingdom, which is now 3 nights. And so it's just, there is in January, for whatever reason, there is a ton of wrestling.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're necessarily getting to oversaturation, but I think we're getting to a point where it's like you can't possibly watch it all.
Yeah,
and I think that the easy thing to get rid of is the weekly shows, right? Like, I love the pay-per-views, but I mean, some of these weekly shows.
Big Vader splash now. These guys, man, they are just working like opposing each other and working great. So, yeah, and I think,
I agree with you that December sucks for these big shows. It's just a terrible time. I mean, I don't mind them doing the day one pay-per-view. It's free, right? Like, I either put it on or I don't put it on. Right. I like WrestleMania when it is. It's starting to get a little warmer throughout the country. You can have the event kind of anywhere. Yeah. And Super Bowl's over. It's March Madness time. I like it.
Sting.
Wow.
Got it. There it is.
There it is.
Well, both got, Vader pops up right away, though.
Vader tried jumping off the top rope. Sting kind of turned it into a power slam. Sting got the shit kicked out of him during this match.
Yeah, he really did. Yeah, that one he's feeling. Showing the replays again here. Just a great looking splash from Sting.
To Vader. Not a small dude.
Nope.
Really running around pretty good during this.
Here we go, showing again Vader. Nope. Reversing it into a power slam, and then 1, 2, 3, getting it. Wow, great match. Yikes. King of Cable.
What a contest. Sting and Vader hammering each other. Let's go up for the presentation of the trophy.
Wow. Okay. What a great match. Let's get into the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
Wow.
Dude. I'm glad I picked that one. Man.
Dude. What a match.
Every once in a while we get one. I feel like the last time we had this reaction was what? The TNA match we did. Like, yes. Comes out of left field. This is one where we try and find ones to go. Like, I would recommend this one to someone if you want to see a good wrestling match. Like, this was a great wrestling match.
Just a good 14, 16 minutes, whatever it was, nonstop, no rest holds, stiff as hell. I mean, you're not going to see that kind of match, at least not in the WWE. Maybe in AEW, but I mean, it's just a hell of a match. And remember, Vader, when he got to WWE, the what everyone says is, physically he was past his prime. Well, I watched this and now I get it. It makes sense when I hear Bruce Pritchard say that, because 4 years later, there was nothing left in the tank compared to the guy I just watched in this match. Remember, we're at the 25th anniversary of 1996. That was supposed to be Vader and Shawn at SummerSlam. at Survivor Series and then at Royal Rumble in a trilogy, and they yanked it because Vader just had nothing left in the tank and Sid got that spot. So really interesting to see. But man, Vader was fun to watch in this era. And I mean, I don't even know if this was nearly as stiff as the stuff that he did in Japan.
And I don't think it is. And from the little bit you and I have both seen, I think that this was, this was up there, and this was definitely one of the stiffer matches we've ever watched. So if that's your style, this is one that I would definitely. This could be one I always talk. We talk about the matches we recommend to people. This could be one I recommend to people because it was really good. And so, yeah. So what happened here kind of in the aftermath? What do we got going for us here? Yeah, is that this then even better, and I've added some of these matches to our future list too. This feud continued into early 1993. You had what was a bloody strap match, actually. It's Super Brawl. And then also them kind of, I say, like hot-shotting the belt back and forth a little bit over in the European tour. Losing it, England, Ireland, stuff like that, and having that. And then you get into Beach Blast, then 1993. And then you have Sting actually teaming with who is at the time a quote newcomer, who almost feels weird to say, but the newcomer of Davey Boy Smith, the Bulldog, teaming or going against Vader, who at the time was teaming with Sid Vicious. And so, which they had a great tag team name. If you remember, they were the Masters of the Powerbomb, which just a great, random tag team name. But I thought that was fantastic. And so, and then having a great match there. And so Sting, just kind of teaming or tag teaming and doing that, things like that. Vader, though, ended up, while these guys feuded a little bit through early 1993, Vader started getting into his feuds with Mick Foley, which we've talked about a little bit before. We'll cover some more of those matches as well, too, with these guys just beating the absolute living hell out of each other. Losing ears, concussions, the loss of feeling in limbs over the years, like these guys just beating the absolute hell out of each other, which was just absolutely fantastic. And so, so just the feud continued. There's really no other way to look at it, but just really good stuff between both these guys. So, PWI, and this should come as no surprise to you, Tom, after this year, 1992, Sting, numero uno, number 1 on the PWI list, and Vader number 15, which I feel like after watching this match should be a lot higher, but 1 and 15, there's still nothing to complain about. Yeah. So interesting. Yeah. Like you said, in the Meltzer vote, the tag match was actually voted higher than this match, which after watching last week the tag match and this week this match, for me, if I had to, I am absolutely picking this match. I like that last week's was great and stuff like that, but this match, just absolutely crazy and fantastic. And so, major credit has to be given to the 4 wrestlers in the tag match for saving and turning the show around, and just Sting and Vader for putting on a match even better than their excellent match at Great American Bash previously. And so you couldn't ask for a better match than this. Not only had hot moves, but it had a focused storyline to the match and was obviously well planned out. Vader looked like he gained even more weight, yet never looked like he was blown up, and they worked a hot pace. Race distracted Sting, so Vader clotheslining behind, used a choke slam. Vader came off the top rope again, but Sting caught him in a power slam and got the 3 count, 4.5 stars.
This was going off the star ranking, this was the 3rd best match in Vader's career.
Okay, what was the top 2?
I already left that screen.
That's okay. That's okay.
So, and then I'll just tell you from a Sting standpoint, this was the 6th ranked Sting match in his career. So, great match for both guys. I'll go back to Vader.
Well, you do that. I'll give my score. I'll talk to him.
Well, no, here you go. So, Keiji Muto. I apologize. I can't pronounce a lot of these. I never watched those promotions. So some of those names I'm rough with. Second best match in his career was that Cactus Jack Texas Death match. And then this was number 3.
Can I say too, just to stop you real quick? So the Battle Bowl, which was the main event of this card, is taking place. So wrestlers are coming out to the ring. Vader was in the ring and Sting was walking to the ring. They're brawling again. So Vader's actually trying to choke out Sting at this point.
That's really cool. I'd already turned it off, but that's awesome.
Yep. Sorry, go ahead. And
good stuff. You just keep the feud going. That's great. I love it. Yep. It was kind of it wasn't a super clean finish. You know, I mean, it was one of those where you could tell that wasn't the last time they were ever going to wrestle.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Vader tossing him back in the ring at this point. They had great kind of storyline telling at that point. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So for me, like this one, like, boy, I just kind of looking at this one on paper. And again, we don't watch these matches. Like, yes, you know, we have to put our notes in and things like that. And we kind of do our research into these things, but I had not watched the match, and even reading the reviews, I would not have thought this match was as good as it was. This is probably the highest score I've given in a long time, but I'm going to give it a 9.5. Like this was like, it exceeded what I ever thought this one was going to be. We've watched some Vader matches, and I think sometimes like it's almost too stiff, or like his presence in the ring makes it difficult to do certain, like to make it, you know, believable for me. But man, this one I believe, and they beat the hell out of each other and had a great match.
So, you know, I have it a bit lower just because the build wasn't like off the charts. I mean, that's the only thing that would have made this better, is if like everything leading up to this was just out of this world. I got this thing at an 8 though. I think it was awesome. I loved it. Again, it's just missing some of the gaga for me of like the build and the big video package. And, you know, it was one of many times these guys wrestled. So that's the only knock on it, but I did love it.
And no reason, I can agree with that. No reason to not knock it, because it wasn't the middle of a long feud that these guys had. But yeah, still a very good match, and one where we always tell people to go back and watch it. But this is one, absolutely go back and watch it.
Cool. That's all I got.
Send them home happy. Yeah.
All right. So Merry Christmas for those that celebrate.
Yep.
We typically take time off around the holidays. We're not doing that this year.
Not you and me, buddy.
Nope. We're here. We're coming back 2 days after Christmas with In Your House 5 Seasons Beatings.
And the year's strong. Who doesn't love a good Brett Bulldog match, you know?
Hey, there are many people that say it's better than their SummerSlam match. I'm excited for next week. Merry Christmas to everyone.
Yep. Happy holidays, all that good stuff. Yep.
And we'll see you next week on an all-new episode of The Payoff.